We're going to go NFC first because I think that's where the big action was on Sunday. We'll go all through the NFC, and then we'll do the AFC and everything that happened, and then we'll wrap it in a nice, neat bow. Yes, let's start at the end. Let's go to Ford Field.
5.5 to go. Lions by 15. First and goal from the Minnesota 4. Goff is going to work out of the gun. Gibbs to his right. Jared leans in. There's the snap. Gives it to Jameer. Over the left side. Up the hash. Still fighting at the 1. Did he get in?
Yes, he did.
Sure he did. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Jameer with a boost from his offensive line. He's in, and the Lions are 3 scores up. Can you smell it, Detroit?
Yes, we do.
Can you smell it?
Smells good.
It smells like the NFC North.
Oh, when Dan Miller's voice is cracking, you know that's when football is back. Lomas Brown, TJ Lang on WXYT. It's been a season. It's been 3 years worth of Dan Miller calls, and he always delivers. And the Lions, they deliver to 15-2 on a regular season that put up a ton of obstacles in their way. Injuries, expectations, a difficult schedule, a brutal division. And they overcame it all to get that number 1 seed. They won this game 31-9. It didn't feel that decisive, Patrick, but I wanted that highlight versus the other 3 Jameer Gibbs touchdowns that also happened in this game. He ended up with 4. He had some longer ones, but I wanted that one because it felt emblematic of the way the second half went, literally and figuratively. Figuratively, this is a team all working together and pushing each other. And then literally, there were multiple first downs where the offensive lineman pushed Jameer Gibbs to get that first down. That was for the touchdown, and that embodies just everything this Lions team has been about.
You could make the case that Penei Sewell had more first downs in this game by pushing Jameer Gibbs than Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson did over on the other side, where Aaron Glenn's defense played spectacularly well. The Vikings played well in a spot where it felt like both of these teams were competing to the same extent on the defensive side of the ball, but then it was Jameer Gibbs on an angle route on 4th and goal where he dices up Andrew Van Ginkel and goes in the end zone. The Lions never really looked back after that point, and we'll have time to get into this Darnold discussion, but truly, even if Sam Darnold played an A- game,
yep,
it wouldn't touch. Jared had the shot where Ben Johnson kind of puts him in a tough spot, throwing out of his own end zone. 3 receivers in the pattern. It's a deep ball. He's got to throw the ball, otherwise it's going to be 2 points for the Minnesota Vikings. He has the mistake there. Other than that, a pristine game played by Jared Goff, where even if Darnold played better, he wasn't touching 16.
Yeah, it's one where you look at the box score, you see the 2 picks from Goff, and there was the one that got tipped at the line of scrimmage earlier in the game, and you look at Darnold obviously struggling, but there was such a big difference there. And yet the 4th downs, you don't want to boil it just down to Minnesota struggled in the red zone, and they definitely did. They finished 0 for 4 in the red zone. Darnold's numbers inside the 10-yard line were grotesque. At one point he was 1 for 9 for 3 yards inside the 10-yard line. But I do think, Nick, on some level, it does come back to those 4th downs. The Vikings go for the 4th down, as they should, early in the second half. It's another one of those Darnold incompletions where he's just running around, and the Darnold on the move just freestyling. Those plays were not working at all tonight, whereas the Lions stayed aggressive after a failed 4th down early in the game that got tipped. They go for it again, as Patrick mentioned, hit the angle route, and then after that, they are the better running team ultimately, and these are 2 teams that want to run the ball, but the Lions, they're built to do it, and they were better doing it, and it made it kind of a walk in the 4th quarter, where at one point Aaron Glenn is just sitting on the bench chilling. I don't know what he was doing over there.
He'd earned that. He'd earned that by the way that he'd gotten in the head of Sam Darnold, which we haven't really seen this year. But honestly, this game comes down to like 3 key takeaways. One of them is the Lions' success on 4th down. The other one is Jameer Gibbs going back to the Lions' identity of putting the game away on the ground, which you thought maybe they wouldn't be able to do that without David Montgomery. Oh, no, they can still do that because he can actually handle the ball on every down. which he proved there, ripping off long runs, getting first down, sometimes with the assistance of his offensive linemen. And then the third thing was the Vikings missing their opportunities, not capitalizing. You had the Ivan Pace interception, and then they settle for a field goal. They're inside the 10. They settle for a field goal there. You have the 4th and 2 that they didn't convert that you just mentioned. There's also the play where Andrew Van Ginkel reads the bubble perfectly. He gets a hand out there, it tips up in the air, and he doesn't catch it. So the Vikings are to come away from this game, pretty upset with the fact that, in the margins, they could have made it a much tighter game, knowing that they didn't execute, but at the same time should feel good that if we clean that up, we're still going to have a really good shot. If they play that again, who knows, maybe there's a difference, but the Lions definitely the better team tonight.
It was very similar game plans from the two defenses. Both teams blitzed more than 50% of the time. Both teams had a very high pressure rate, although the Lions were even higher. The difference was Goff, who had his struggles early in the game. Certainly they were bothering him. You hit someone that much, like how can you not be bothered? But he got rid of the ball faster. He only took 6 QB hits. Darnold took 10. And then he had a couple C&I types of third down throws that Darnold just didn't hit. I'm thinking early in the game too. He started 8 for 18 for 89 yards. And there was a 3rd and 9 to Hawkinson where actually the pressure didn't get there. There was a 3rd and 8 up the seam, or 3rd and 18 rather, to Hawkinson, also in the first half, where actually he had a chance. There was pressure, and it's a 3rd and 18, but he's hit these crazy plays, and he just misses them by a yard. There's another Hawkinson drop in the second half. Sometimes it was receivers, one that's a little behind Jefferson. It's not like a perfect throw, but it was a tough situation, and Jefferson doesn't make the catch. So on a night where like Aaron Jones is in and out, in the second half, it wasn't close, but it's hard to also, to ignore that Darnold goes 18 for 41 with 4 yards per attempt in the biggest game of the year.
It was 2 of 12 in passes, 10 to 19 yards or 20 plus. This is Sam Darnold, who's over 45% of all of his throws were past the sticks in this regular season. Most of the attempts were short, and he was 8 of 18 between 0 and 9 yards today, where clearly the strength of the Lions defense at this point, during the stretch where everybody got hurt. I know they got Alex Anzalone back, some of their pass rushers back, Obi Melifonwu returned, but Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph kind of formed the backbone of this defense right around that 9 yards away from the line of scrimmage. So they're always good in that spot. They were even better today, where Sam Darnold has been great all season, actually bad today.
It was such a good game. I know it was like a blowout in the end, but I guess it got me going, Chuck, because this was the first playoff game. And the great thing is we get to see the Vikings again. They'll be on Monday Night Football. It wasn't, but it just felt like, okay, there's now, before this game started, 14 games left in the season, and they're all going to be really high stakes. And you just felt that. And the final score lies just a little bit, but I thought one of the key moments, and it's why I really believe in Goff and I believe in this offense to get it done, was the drive before Gibbs hits the long touchdown in the second half, which is only their second touchdown. It was 10-6 at the time. Goff hits a 3rd and really long while backpedaling against the blitz to set up a 4th and 4 that they go for. And then he's backpedaling again against the blitz. And those are just little plays. And then the next play, Gibbs pops it. And to me, that was the difference. He's been in these situations so many times, and it's huge because they are now at home for the NFC playoffs, and they get a week off. And there's actually not that many players I don't think can return. We saw Kevin Zeitler, their guard, walk off at the end injured, so that's a little concerning. Patrick mentioned it. Melifonwu being back, I think the last couple weeks is a big deal for them. It's just another steady body there in the secondary, and Anzalone made a big difference. Terrion Arnold looked like he had a serious injury, unfortunately, at cornerback tonight. So they get the rest, but more importantly, you're going to have to beat Detroit in Detroit, which is a tall order, and I think is the reward and the advantage they kind of needed after all these injuries.
Yeah, that was what was at stake tonight, was home field advantage. And I think that the Vikings, despite everything that they've done well this season, proved just how difficult it is to go win there. Because in that first half, They played tight. They coached tight.
Mm.
That red zone situation after that interception, Justin Jefferson has an opportunity to catch a ball in the back of the end zone and he bobbles it. And then by the time he comes down with it, he's out of bounds. Those are mistakes, small things that they don't typically make. But I think the environment had a lot to do with that. And the other thing is if the Lions have the home field advantage, that's great. But they're also proved tonight that they are masters at preparation. And like they were prepared for anything that the Vikings brought after them, especially on those fourth down conversions. Double A gap blitz. We're going to throw the angle route right behind you for a touchdown. Like they had an answer for everything. And I think you combine those two factors, it makes it extremely difficult to go in there and beat them no matter how banged up they are, because they've taken a number of injuries. But that defense played tonight like they weren't hurt at all. So it's a tall task.
Well, I'm just wearing my biases on my sleeve. I think covering a Lions Super Bowl would be amazing. How can you not love this team? There would be other great stories out of the NFC if it happened, including the Vikings if they found a way to win 3 straight road games. But it's a tougher road for them now. I'm also biased because I want to see my son and my daughter. I mean, my son and my wife dress up as Sonic and Knuckles for the Super Bowl, which she has promised Walker.
Oh, wow.
Who really loves Gibbs and Montgomery, that she would do if they make it. So I just really want to see that. Man, this Vikings, the day started weird.
From Walker.
The day started weird with a Jay Glazer report on Fox that multiple teams are interested in trading for Kevin O'Connell. I don't like this. I don't like Kevin O'Connell and his story being front and center at this point in the season when it should be all about the team. I've got thoughts on this. I feel like I need to just let them simmer for now. We're going to talk about all the coaches stuff on our Black Monday show.
Wow.
But I just feel like it's an awkward situation, and you wouldn't want anything kind of taking away from the team right now. A coaching contract situation. Like, that's not what the Vikings need right now. They need to start preparing for their wild card game. They will have an extra day to do so.